In a similar way, the Reformation, the racial Reformation, is formed around the Bible and is formed around Scripture. And if there's a passage of Scripture at the heart of what we need in a racial Reformation, I think it's this one, Genesis 1:26 and 27. You know that one? Yeah. This passage contains the first mention of what we call the doctrine of the imago Dei, or the image of God. As the doctrine of salvation by faith was the core doctrine around which the Protestant Reformation revolved, the doctrine of the image of God would be the core doctrine around which the racial Reformation will revolve. Therefore, a racial Reformation requires a reminder that we are all made in the image and likeness of God. Then God said, let us make humankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created humankind in God's own image. In the image of God, God created them. Male and female, God created them. So what does it mean to be made in the image and likeness of God? We need a reminder. In what ways is humankind similar to or different from the Creator? We're like God in our ability to reason, to exercise dominion or stewardship over the earth by His permission. We have emotions. We are capable of making moral choices, but we are not God. We are God's image. And so there are ways that we are not like God. We are not all-knowing. We are not all-powerful. We are not thrice holy. We cannot save ourselves from the wages of sin. I like the way theologian Herman Bavinck put it. The image extends to the whole person. While all creatures display vestiges of God, only a human being is the image of God and is such totally in soul and body, in all their faculties and powers, in all conditions and relations. As our sister Akemini reminded us yesterday, we don't simply bear the image, we don't simply have the image, we are the image of God. But here's the thing that we often miss, because we learn these things from European theologians such as Bavinck, and it's a very individualistic understanding of the faith. So when we think about the image of God, we think, I, myself, individually am created in the image of God. What we don't quite understand or get to is that it's not just alone or in isolation that we are the image of God. It is collectively and together that we are the image of God. You see, there's no single people group that could adequately image the image of God. And so God created different people groups, different shapes, different sizes, different colors, different languages. And so that when we all get together collectively, we image God. Like different facets of a diamond, each revealing the splendor of God from a different angle. So what does this image of God have to do with a racial reformation? Well, biblical teachings on the image of God guide us and tell us how to think about race and racism. If we're each made in God's likeness and image, then any presumption of superiority based on skin color, culture, or ethnicity is sin. It denies the truth of the image of God. In his book, From Every People and Nation, A Biblical Theology of Race, J. Daniel Hayes says, racism, or the presupposition that one's own race is superior or better than another, is a denial that all people are made in the image of God. It's theological. Racism in both its individual and institutional manifestations denigrates the image of God in other human beings. The doctrine of the image of God shows us that it is our duty to exalt God, not ourselves over one another. We have no right to look down on any other image bearer. And by the way, this extends to all image bearers. This extends to image bearers who are Christian or not Christian. The image of God extends to LGBTQ people. The image of God extends to all races, whether black or white. If you are of Latin American descent, Asian descent, Native American descent, the image of God extends to the able-bodied and the disabled. The image of God extends to those with a PhD or a GED. The image of God extends to the famous or the infamous. The image of God extends to every human being. You are a human being, then you are created in the image and likeness of God. That goes for children in the womb and out of the womb. That goes for documented and undocumented. That goes for incarcerated and free. Everyone means everyone is made in the image and likeness of God. And we need to remember this when it comes to race, because people in power have historically diminished the image of God in people of African descent. Based on someone's skin color, they were deemed less human, less worthy of dignity. But the doctrine of the image of God teaches us that pigment does not determine personhood.